morning. Good morning. Welcome back to Coffee and Sports in the Morning. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. And to my right, I got the man that knows better. It's Mo Better. We're doing a two-man show this morning. How you feeling this morning, Mo?
I'm going great. On a Thursday, just ready to get into it.
I'm trying. I'll be as transparent as I can be. I think that today's a day when this happened 24 years ago. The term "never forget" was constantly thrown around, and I've not forgotten. And it's always been a somber day for me to begin with. And I just I wish that people valued human life a little bit more every day. But I want to start by saying today's September 11th. I remember that. We are going to give you an hour's worth of sports to hope to get your mind off of whatever's going on in life. And I'm always excited to talk sports with you, though, friend. Let's get rolling. Let's get started on the day. I'm going to start with your 49ers. And nothing, it's rough, right? So Brock Purdy is now, it looks like he's unlikely to play. He's expected to miss 2 to 5 weeks. Now George Kittle is on the IR. They do get a break. In my opinion, they do get a break. They are getting the New Orleans Saints, and Cottrell wants to know no creative name today. He's kind of disappointed.
I know. I feel you, Cottrell, but I went with the government because this is a somber day, and that was just my small way of acknowledging that.
Yeah, but the 49ers, the way it's broken down is no Purdy, no Kittle, road game. How long do you think this 49ers team can survive without their starting quarterback and their star pass catcher?
I feel like they're going to do the thing that you said they shouldn't do, and they're going to rely heavily on C-Mac and give him too many touches. And it might get them through this period. They might be able to win some tough games, but I think it's going to come at the expense of what he could be for you the rest of the season. And that worries me because he comes into the season not fully healthy. I just think this is an opportunity for Shanahan to show how creative a play caller he is by dialing up some mismatches for other guys rather than relying too heavily on C-Mac.
Does winning by any means necessary outside of overusing C-Mac? Like, do you care how ugly it looks if you walk away from the Saints game 2-0? Like, I know in Philadelphia, you can't even win sometimes. Like, it's like the Eagles beat the Cowboys, and it was almost, when you listen to the radio, it was almost like they lost the football game. Right. Well, Adoree Jackson stinks, and, Jalen Carter made a bonehead mistake, and Andrew Makubu is not ready. Like, you hear everything, right? As a 49er fan, give them the circumstances. You're playing, most people view as the worst team in football. Is a win all that matters?
For me, it does. We can win 10-9, and I can listen to pundits for weeks in tell me how the Niners are going to have a terrible season. I'll take the win. If we win 10-9 3 games in a row, all I know is we just won 3 games in a row.
I love that.
That's me. And I don't care how the offense looks. If Robert Saleh and the defense can hold up their end and the offense doesn't turn the ball over, if we go 3 and out and punt and don't turn the ball over, I'll take that too. But I want to win. So I don't care how ugly it is, just win.
Just win, baby. Little Al Davis action. But I look at the 49ers situation, and I don't look, I'll be transparent when I say this. I think they can win the next 2 football games without Purdy and without Kittle. It gets a little tougher. You start going at Los Angeles, at Tampa Bay. You're going to need those guys back for those football games. There's no way. Like, you guys have a very light schedule to start the year. You played at Seattle. You got a road win. You get another road game this week at New Orleans. And New Orleans they're a dumpster fire. Then you go home versus Arizona and Jacksonville. If they are, would you sign up for 3-1 right now, knowing everything? Would you sign up for 3-1?
Oh,
2-1 over the next 3 games. Because as a 49ers fan, if you have Purdy and Kittle, you're not signing up for 3-1. Like, you're expected to win the next 3 games, but you're signing up for 2-1 in the next 3
easily. Because I'm one of the 49er fans, I believe, that are a little bit more realistic about what they are.
You are.
With Purdy and Kittle, it wasn't a lock. It's not an explosive offense with Purdy and Kittle. So if you can hold down the fort and you tell me we're going 2-1 the next 3 games, sign me up.
I like that. I think the 49ers are definitely in a tough spot right now with the injuries. Let's see how creative Kyle Shanahan can be with Mac and Jones, Mac and cheese, Mac Jones. But I want to see how creative he can be with that offense, and to see if he can really just. I'll never forget. Trey Lance went down, and Brock Purdy came in, and the situation that he walked into was, hey, this is situation that's going to be very tough, and Mac Jones or Kyle Shanahan managed his way through that. Mac Jones is an accurate quarterback. He reminds me a lot of, get this, Brock Purdy, the way he played football at Alabama. I think it's a good match, an accurate passer of the football. And do you remember draft week before the 49ers drafted Trey Lance? There was rumors of Kyle Shanahan loving Mac Jones. Now he's signed there. There's no more Trey Lance. What are you expecting out of Mac Jones this week?
I like the way you pointed out how he has similar skill sets to Brock Purdy. I do agree that Shanahan can coach up a guy like Mac Jones. And I think Mac Jones is smart enough to realize that the system can help him. If he trusts in the system, he doesn't have to put up prolific numbers. He's just got to be capable and consistent. So if Mac Jones throws for 200 yards, it's a clean game, and he's hitting on 60% of his passes, even if they're not explosive plays, I'll take that. I'll take that because it means he's moving the football. He's being a compliment to C-Mac. You can win that way.
I agree. We'll obviously see how we're going to do a lot of preview this week of NFL action. I'm kind of fired up about that. We're going to go through our picks as we won't be on tomorrow. You and Brett might be. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But we'll go through our picks on this week. We obviously have Thursday Night Football. We'll talk about that. We'll start there. But before we do that, you were telling me something pre-show. And I think a lot of you was pretty excited about hearing about it. So I wanted to test that, right? So you and Mo and his friends, or Mo and a couple guys, were going back and forth about Emmitt Smith being the all-time leading rusher. I'll leave it to you, Mo, and kind of set the stage. And I want to play the game that you and your friends played. And they were playing a little game of Emmitt Smith or. And I don't know these running backs. Mo was trying to tell me who they were before. I was like, no. I want to hear it I want to hear it live, and I want to give a natural reaction to it. And I think you guys deserve that. So that's what I wanted to do. Mo, I'll set the stage to you. You let us know what the criteria is, and we'll go from there.
So the conversation really started off with the greatest running backs in football. I got a couple of guys that no matter what, they believe Emmitt Smith is the greatest running back in the history of the NFL. Their point is he's the all-time leading rusher, not by accident. I don't agree. It's a factual statement. He's the all-time leading rusher. All I said was he's the all-time leading rusher. I don't think he's one of the 5 greatest running backs in football. And I said, under the concept of if I took some other running backs, put them behind the offensive line that he had, have the quarterback behind him that he had, the wide receiver to his right that he had, I think they would be as or more productive than Emmitt Smith. And so they said, give me a name. And I said, I'll give you a few names before I get to the number 1 name. And so I said Emmitt Smith or Marshall Faulk. I said Emmitt Smith or Eric Dickerson.
Well, let me go one by one, and I'll see if I could do the Emmitt Smith or, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So you said Emmitt Smith or Marshall Faulk. That's a tough one. I'll go with Emmitt Smith. I think Emmitt Smith was a better in between the tacklers runner. I think in today's NFL, I might rather have Marshall Faulk, but in the NFL that they both played in, I would go with Emmitt Smith.
I said Emmitt Smith or Eric Dickerson.
I'm also going to go with Emmitt Smith there. Eric Dickerson was great. He had an incredible prime of his career. Emmitt Smith did it longer and had a nose for the end zone. So I'll go with Emmitt Smith.
So my only argument with the Dickerson thing and Emmitt Smith is because it's the same argument that people will always make for Barry Sanders. It's the same argument that people will always make for Walter Payton. It's a fair argument. Eric Dickerson never played with a quarterback. Nothing.
You're absolutely correct.
He had no quarterback. So when Eric Smith lined up or Eric Dickerson lined up, 9 men in the box from the jump. He played with nothing and did what he did. I'm just pointing that out. So and the other ones, Emmitt Smith or Walter Payton.
Walter Payton, not close. I feel like there's a huge gap in between Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton.
I agree. I also think there's a huge gap between Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders.
100%. Barry Sanders. That's not. Once again, I don't think that's close.
You put Barry Sanders behind that offensive line. I don't even want to know what the all-time leading rushing numbers would look like. Something insane, like 25,000 yards, probably.
You remember Emmitt Smith? I mean, Barry Sanders' most premier quarterback,
Scott Mitchell.
It's so amazing that his most premier quarterback was Scott Mitchell, and his most premier wide receiver was Herman Moore.
And to your point, Walter Payton's most premier quarterback was Jim McMahon, and he was a great leader, but he wasn't a great quarterback. And Eric Dickerson's most prolific quarterback, top of my head, I'm going to say Jim Harbaugh.
Look at Coach in the chat. Every team in the NFL knew Eric Dickerson was getting the ball, and he was still able to get yards and score touchdowns.
With nothing. Like the 85 Bears, we talked about how great their defense was, and it was. Remember, they met that Rams team, and the Rams quarterback at the time was, what was his name? He was from Canada. Dieter Brock.
Okay.
Dieter Brock. And they already played the 46, so you already had people loaded up. But they actually changed the 46, and it looked more like the 56 because they did not fear the pass at all. And Eric Dickerson got blown up on every carry, and that's it. Look, I think it's debatable about Eric Dickerson and Emmitt Smith because you put Eric Dickerson behind that offensive line. Remember, he's not just 6'3", 230. He's 6'3", 230 with sprinter speed and the ability to make people miss in space. That's an option he never had in his career.
I guess the reply I would have is if Eric Dickerson was behind that Cowboys offensive line, his career would have been prolonged. And the fact that he had 8 1,000-yard seasons, he was injured a few times, didn't play the full season for a bunch, but his 4 peak seasons you could put up against anyone. 2,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 1,800 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 1,659 yards, 14 touchdowns. Those 4 years you can put up against anyone. Outside of those 4 years, Eric Dickerson was a normal running back.
Look, yeah. Well, the problem with those 4 years, though, look at the amount of carries in those 4 years.
100%. 404. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
388. 379.
Yeah, remember that era of football, running backs, like it was important to have a good quarterback, but they really did believe in run first. And if you were a great running back, they ran you into the ground back then. You could go into a deeper conversation about what happened to a guy like Earl Campbell. Ran him into the ground.
Yeah.
Ran him into the ground.
You're right. Any other ones that you named? Because I have 3 or 4 for you. I can go right back at you.
I mean, look, there's some other guys that people mention. Somebody actually mentioned Curtis Martin. I said Emmitt Smith because I thought Curtis Martin was very similar, that he was productive in over a longer period of time than a lot of guys we named. But I pointed out that I don't think at any point anybody thought Curtis Martin was the best running back in football.
Okay, so let me give you 3. I'll start with what I think is a really close one. Emmitt Smith or LaDainian Tomlinson?
I'll take Emmitt Smith. I always thought that LaDainian Tomlinson was kind of like Marshall Faulk, except that he had a lot more quit in him. So I wouldn't take LaDainian Tomlinson because what I remember most about him is him quitting on his football team.
Oh, I mean, I feel like if you went skill for skill, I think LT's better. But like, you're not wrong of what you said, and you're talking about Chargers Patriots. That's what you're talking about.
The guy talked all that smack.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. It was they asked him about the Patriots, and he said something to the effect of, "Well, you know, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right?" And then the game happened, and they blew him up a couple times, and then he's over on the sidelines the rest of the game on the treadmill, on the bike. I'm sorry. I never looked at him the same way again after that.
I know exactly the game you were talking about when you said that. Emmitt Smith or all day Adrian Peterson?
Man, that's a really good one. Look, if I feel the way I feel about some of these other guys, I would take Adrian Peterson. We're talking about, think about what Adrian Peterson did behind his offensive line. And for a lot of his career, he didn't have a great quarterback. Now you're putting him behind that Dallas offensive line with the way he ran and the power and speed he had. That's scary.
I love, just to be clear, I'm a huge Adrian Peterson fan, and I have Adrian Peterson ahead of Emmitt Smith. So I think I agreed with you for everything so far. I will ask a silly one, but Emmitt Smith or Terrell Davis?
It's not a silly one because I think what you're doing is you're going both of them at their peaks.
Correct.
And on peak, I'm taking Terrell Davis. Obviously, if you go longevity, nobody's beating Emmitt Smith. But if we're doing the peak argument, Terrell Davis's peak was amazing. He was a beast. And his peak is more impressive to me than Emmitt's peak.
And then the last one I wanted to give you, and I felt like these were really, really close. So I just kind of wanted the Cowboy edition. Emmitt Smith or Tony Dorsett?
I'll take Emmitt Smith. Tony Dorsett was the epitome of a breakaway back, but he wasn't he wasn't going to run between the tackles.
I'm not gonna bore you with Jim Brown because that's an obvious one.
Can't touch Jim Brown, and I didn't bring him up in the conversation because I just thought it was a stated thing that he was better.
100%. All right, let's move into our NFL week. Let's get into our schedule. Thursday night football. The Commanders at the Packers. We talked about this a little yesterday. You're still rolling with the Packers, am I correct?
I am.
I am also. I think that it's I think it's going to be a very close football game. And if I had to give you my opinion, I think it's going to be a very low-scoring football game. I believe in both of these defenses. Truly do. And I think that the one thing that Green Bay does really well, Washington does really well also. And when you look at the Commanders are going to have problems running the ball in between the tackles. Well, that's the Packers' weakness. So I don't know how that plays out. But what I will say is the Commanders are really good at getting their quarterback mobile around the corner. Well, guess what? The Packers are really good at containing a quarterback. I think it's going to be a really good football game. I think it'll be low scoring. I think 20-17 is where I'm at. I'm going to go with the Packers, but I wouldn't touch this game betting with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I think it will play out similar to the way you projected. I'm going to lean on the fact that I think that this is going to be a really good game for Josh Jacobs. I think the Packers are going to rely a lot on Josh Jacobs because he's terrific at running between the tackles. They can play a physical brand of football. They're not solely dependent on the pass game. I think he's going to balance out what Jordan Love is able to do with that receiving core.
I do have a one I just need your help with, right? I don't understand it, and to me it feels like it's weird. The over-under we're going to talk about Jacksonville Jaguars, Cincinnati Bengals. And I want to read this out to you because I think it's insane, and I think you just need to hear it. 95% all right, so the Bengals are going to play the Jaguars in Cincinnati. The over-under opened at 49.5. Where is your mindset? Do you think the total would go over or under?
That's kind of crazy to me. First of all, I think I would go under.
See, you're with 95% of the money. I've never seen anything like this. I look at two teams that have no defenses that are going to rely fully on their offense, and I look at a game that I think will be 42-38, and 95% of the money is on the under. 48.5. It dropped the whole point. I love the over in this game. Jacksonville at Cincinnati, I think, is going to have fireworks. I think Joe Burrow. Who wants Cincinnati might score 38 alone. Who on Jacksonville is going to stop that offense? With Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Who do you like in that football game? Jaguars at Bengals.
I like the Bengals, but I think it's going to be a close football game. Everything you said, I'm on board when you talk about Cincinnati's skill position. But I'm concerned because I don't care how good your skill positions are if your offensive line is subpar. And their offensive line didn't look great in week one. Now, granted, defense, Cleveland plays a physical brand of defense. I don't know if Jacksonville can replicate that. But if that offensive line isn't at least stabilized, the offense is going to struggle. And you're going to have all that offensive firepower and not be able to take advantage of it because of your offensive line.
The New York Giants are traveling into Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are -5.5.
I think the Cowboys win that football game. I'm with you on how dominant the Giants' front four can be, but I'm also on board as far as how porous their offense is. I feel like just off of week one, we're on Jackson Dart watch, which I think is kind of silly, and I wouldn't go that route. Even if you believe he's the guy, your offensive line is god awful. Why would you sign up a rookie quarterback to take that a David Carr like beating? I wouldn't do that. I would. That's what you have veterans for. That's what you have. If you think Russell Wilson is that awful, then that's what Jameis comes for. You know what Jameis will do? Jameis will give you some fireworks. He will put points on the boards for both teams, but he'll put points on the board.
It's funny. They have the lowest ticket in the house in Jerry World. $35 to watch that football game in Jerry World. I think that's a statement to how poor both these franchises are right now.
I agree.
I'm going to go with the New York Giants. I think they pull the upset. They might not win the football game, but I think they cover the 5.5. I think it's going to be a very good football game. I think Dallas is getting a super overrated after the way they played Philadelphia hard in the first half. That game was weird, right? It was a very weird football game. Philadelphia lost their best defender before a snap happened. Dallas scored 20 points in the first half. Didn't score a goddamn point after Vic Fangio got to talk to that defense after halftime. There was a lot of weird calls in that football game. The non-call on, the Cowboys left tackle throwing a left hook at Jalix Hunt. Nolan Smith getting a 15-yard penalty for flexing, which is the first I've seen of that. And then and then the lightning delay. And I felt like every team came back flat after that. I'll be transparent with you. I don't think the Cowboys are as good as people think they are after one game. I think people are a little too high on them. I think I'm getting a lot of value with getting the Giants +5.5.
Look, you make a strong case, especially for the Giants. And I do think the Cowboys are getting way too much credit because they played the Eagles tough. And so for some reason, people are going like, if you play the best team in the NFC tough, it means you're going to mop up the Giants. I don't think the Cowboys are that good, but I do think the Giants' offense is that bad.
Okay. We'll move on. The next game on the docket is the Chicago Bears. Traveled on a short week to Detroit, which they're not going too far, to take the Detroit Lions. Both of these teams, one of them humiliated at Green Bay. The other one, I guess I could say humiliated, but a huge comeback from the Vikings. Mentally defeated would be the word I use for the Bears. 6.5 point spread. Who you like in this football game, Mo?
How about you make your pick and then I'll make mine?
Okay. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears plus 6.5. I don't think the Lions are that good. And I've said this numerous times. I think the Lions will probably win the football game. I think what's going to happen is this will be a field goal game at the end. But if I'm picking against the spread, I'm taking the Chicago Bears plus 6.5 because I think this becomes another good football game. What a lot of people don't understand is that Vikings game, that Bears defense looked really good to start the game. They started that game without Jalen Johnson, their number one cornerback, Kyler Gordon, their starting nickel cornerback, TJ Edwards, their starting middle linebacker, and the guy that got the pick 6 in the game, he got hurt. That's their number 4 cornerback. They were on their 2, 5, and 6 corners by the time that game was over. I think Chicago rebounds. I think they play very good defensively. I think it's a close football game. I also think this goes under the total, but I think, once again, Caleb Williams can't find a way to win the game in the last minute.
I'm gonna go with the Bears. I do trust in Ben Johnson, and I think that every week is going to be another developmental week for Caleb Williams, and I think that Ben's going to coach him up. He's gonna throw some bubble screens to DJ Moore. He's going to rely on the run game a little bit more. I think he's going to set Caleb Williams up for success, and I think the defense is going to be stout enough that they find a way to get a couple of picks off of Goff.
I like that. Another 1 o'clock game. You have the Los Angeles Rams traveling to Tennessee. Tennessee looked really good week 1. Even on a loss, they lost 20-12 at Denver. Denver was statistically ranked the number 1 defense in football last year. Tennessee went in there, and I felt like that if Cam Ward's receivers didn't let him down, I felt like the Titans had every chance to win that football game. They're going to play home. They're going to play the Rams traveling cross country. 1 o'clock start. Spread's 5.5, Mo. What do you like in this one?
I was impressed with Tennessee's defense in week 1, honestly.
Yeah, same.
And I do think Cam Ward is going to be able to make some plays with his legs, but I think the Rams are a better football team. They're just a better football team. I think the Rams have one of the better defenses in football, and with Matthew Stafford along with Kieran in the backfield, I just think they're a more balanced football team. So I think it's a tough football game, but I think the Rams win.
I completely agree with you. I'm taking the Titans plus 5.5. I think the Rams will win the football game. This is also a look-ahead game for the Rams. Next week, do you know who the Rams play? Oh, they play at Philadelphia. So they're going to travel back home and then travel back across the country to play Philadelphia next week. This is the classic look-ahead game. I'm not saying they're looking past the Titans. I just think this game is a lot closer than it should be. I think the Rams front 7 with Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, Brandon Fisk, I think they're just too much for that Tennessee offensive line in front, and essentially how everything breaks down. I'll go with the Rams, but the Rams in a close one.
Agreed.
The New England Patriots are traveling into Miami to take on the Miami Dolphins in Hard Rock. Miami has had New England's number over the years. However, that Miami Dolphins team looked like they quit on their coach. Who are you going with? Patriots at Miami Dolphins.
So all I've been hearing is people say that it's game week 1, and we do overreact a lot of times after 1 week of football.
Yes.
But I do feel like this. If Miami walks in there and loses to the Patriots in a convincing way, I do think it's time to panic. I think Miami is in disarray. And I think that if they lose, I think this game is everything for their coach going forward. I really believe that. So I'm going to pick the Patriots. If you can call it an upset, I don't really feel like it's an upset, but I'm going to take the Patriots in a low-scoring game.
Look, I'll be clear when I say this. I'm going to pick the Dolphins because I think Mike McDaniel's coaching for his job here. I think if the Patriots win that game convincingly, the Miami Dolphins could fire Mike McDaniel Monday morning. I think that this is like the make it or break it season for him. Stephen Ross has shown you he does not have much patience when it comes to coaches. And I think that Mike McDaniel's outworn his welcome already. So I think that the Dolphins have to win this football game. And I think they figure out a way to do it. Couple more 1 o'clock games. Your San Francisco 49ers travel on the road to the New Orleans Saints. at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. The 49ers are now 3.5-point favorites. Yesterday, after the Purdy news, it dropped all the way down to 2.5. On wire to wire last night, I took the 49ers minus 2.5 as one of my best bets this week. At 3.5, I don't feel as comfortable. I think that one full point matters in a field goal game. Here's what I'll say. I'll start this one, Mo, and I'll lead it right into you. I think we forget how bad the New Orleans Saints are. And I don't care if it's Mac and Jones, Mac and Cheese, or Jones and Company. I got the 49ers figuring out a way to win at New Orleans, a team that I just don't think is that good. I think they're the worst team in football. Give me Mac Jones. Give me the 49ers.
I'm going with the Niners as well, but I'm going with the caveat. Even though the Saints are a bad football team, you can't beat yourself. I just need you to find a way to win the football game. So I need Mac Jones to play a clean football game, take care of the football. If he takes care of the football, I trust in Saleh and the defense. If you got to win it with special teams, get a turnover, whatever it takes, just win, baby.
Best 1:00 games are coming, but let's end with what's one more tough. I think this is a pretty easy game to pick. I don't know if I'm picking them to cover the spread, but the Cleveland Browns go on the road to play a Baltimore Ravens team that just lost week 1. I think Baltimore's ready to get their lick back at home. I love the Ravens in this spot. I think the Ravens win this game big. They probably even cover the 11.5.
I think the Ravens win. But I think, there's something to be said about the division opponent. And look, we all know Cleveland's offense is a mystery, but their defense isn't. And their defense can be physical and they can be opportunistic. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Ravens win.
Okay. Here's the two good 1:00 games, the best two 1:00 games. The Seattle Seahawks are going to travel across the country to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last week, Steelers-Jets was the best 1:00 game by a long shot. No questions asked. Aaron Rodgers threw for 4 touchdown passes. People are talking about MVP Aaron is back. I'm talking to you, Cottrell. Who do you like in this football game? Mike McDonald and the Seattle Seahawks, 0-1, traveling across the country with that very good defense, playing at Pittsburgh.
I am going to take Seattle for the upset. I think that is a very good defense. They did nothing wrong in week 1 defensively, except for a couple of blown coverages late, but that's a good defense. And I think the offense will be better because I think Pittsburgh's defense is a little bit overrated. I expect you're going to get a better effort from from Seattle's offense. They do have talent on the offensive side of the football. It's just a matter of consistency. And look, I just think it's going to be a better football game. And I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is going to play bad, but I think he's going to come back from the 4 touchdown game. You know what I mean? Like, I think he comes back to reality a little bit, and they're going to stop talking about MVP.
Do you know what I took from that Jets-Steelers game? It's not that Aaron Rodgers is better than I expected. It's that the Steelers' defense is worse than I expected. I like Seattle in this game also for the upset. I was trying to lead you into picking Pittsburgh. You didn't catch that. I'm like, but I like the Seattle Seahawks in this game also. I think they go across the country, win this game, and I think Aaron Rodgers definitely comes down to earth a little bit. Best 1:00 game, in my opinion. The Buffalo Bills, fresh off their 41-40 win over the Baltimore Ravens, are going to go to New York to play at MetLife and play a Jets team that just lost 34-32. The spread is 6.5 in the football game. Buffalo at New York. Who do you got?
I think this is going to be a great game. It's weird to say this, but when you look at the matchup, when you look at the two quarterbacks, it gives me echoes of what you get from Ravens Bills because of what can be done on both sides of the football. I'm going to do the unthinkable. I'm going to take the Jets with an upset. I think the Jets are a better football team than people are giving them credit for. I'm not knocking the Bills, But I do feel that every time I watch Buffalo play, Josh Allen's got to be Superman all the time. Like there's not ever a time when he doesn't have to be Superman. I don't know if that's going to always be sustainable.
Man, you're killing me, Mo. I got to start going first on some of these. That's my upset pick of the week. I like the Jets plus 6.5
you do?
over Buffalo. I think they win the game outright. Here's the one thing I'll say, and I don't like critiquing Justin Fields. I don't. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. I love him. I think he's super underrated. However, the Jets better be in the lead in this football game, because the one thing I can never trust Justin Fields to do is down by 3 points, score a touchdown or kick a field goal to tie or win the game. It seems like every time they're in a moment to where he can win the football game, something happens. And I don't know what that is. I don't know why that happens. But even last week, I felt like it was the Super Bowl when Marshawn Lynch, just run it in. It's right there. Just run for the first down. Right. It's right in front of you. And he has 3 yards easily in front of him. And instead he throws a hospital ball to Garrett Wilson, and Jalen Ramsey does not miss. And they lose that game 34-32. I think this week the Jets jump on the Bills early, but I will say this. I think that the Jets win this football game. If the game's close, I think the Bills could win with the Jets still covering.
No, I agree. And I like the way you frame that you're a big fan of Justin Fields, as am I. And I don't know what it is. It might just be an intangible. It might just be an intangible. I hope, and this is a weird comp, but I hope that Justin Fields doesn't end up being as a quarterback what Russell Westbrook is as a point guard. I hope he's not that guy.
That's interesting. I think you say Russell Wilson. I'm like, I would hope he is Russell Wilson. That'd be great. But you said Russell Westbrook. I'm like, wasn't expecting that. On to the 4:00 games. I think the 4:00 slate is very weak outside of one football game. That's okay. We'll get into them quick. I do actually have some interest in this game. The Denver Broncos are going to play the Indianapolis Colts in Lucas Oil. Denver Broncos, #1 defense in football last year, statistically, are going to play the Indianapolis Colts. And I think that this you're going to finally see if rubber meets road. The Broncos are a 1.5 point favorite. Is Daniel Jones the franchise quarterback I've heard about all week? That Shane Steichen's found something and Daniel Jones just needed to get out of New York. We're going to find out this week versus Denver, versus Pat Surtain, versus that group. That defense is very good. They're going to play at Lucas Oil. Who do you like in that football game? Do you like Sean Payton and Denver Broncos or Daniel Jones in the Indianapolis Colts?
I like Sean Payton in the Denver Broncos. I'm not knocking Daniel Jones, and I don't know who's calling him a franchise quarterback. It's not me.
Everywhere.
I think what he is he's capable of being a game manager. I don't know if a game manager can beat that Denver defense. I think that Denver defense, it's going to be a physical game. Don't forget, the Colts do have a very good offensive line. So it's going to be a physical game. They do have Jonathan Taylor. I don't know how good the Broncos offense is going to be. So I think the Broncos win, but I think it's a competitive football game.
Super competitive football game. I like the Broncos in this one also. I think their defense shuts down what Indianapolis is trying to do. The Carolina Panthers, who really disappointed last week, are going to travel on the road to play at Arizona, who looked lackluster in their win versus the Saints. Panthers at Cardinals. Cardinals are a 6.5 point favorite. Who do you like in this football game, Mo?
This is where I sound crazy, maybe because I was high on this kid, the way he finished the second half of the season, but I'm going with the Panthers and Bryce Young. To pull up what am I doing? I'm just saying.
I'm kidding. I'm picking the Panthers also.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. But yeah, I have a lot of faith in this kid. I do. I feel about him the way you feel about Justin Fields.
I still have faith in Bryce Young. I actually think Carolina wins this football game outright. I don't think Arizona's that good, and I think last week was just not a good week for Bryce Young and the Panthers. I think they come back strong this week. I love them plus 6.5. I think that's a lock. I think the Panthers are very competitive in this game. I love Ted McMillan going back home, playing at Arizona. I think that the Panthers win this game outright.
Yeah, I think Chuba Hubbard has a big game.
Love that. And now for the main event of the evening. The defending, reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles travel into Arrowhead to take on Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs. I've been very steadfast and strong on my opinion about this game since the schedule came out. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to absolutely bully the Kansas City Chiefs again.
All right, now you're doing it to me.
Yes, I had to go first on this one. I think the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line is going to 100% create havoc. Here's something that a lot of people don't know. The Chiefs last week, all this talk about revitalized offensive line, they were 25th out of 32 teams in pass block win rate. That's not good if you were keeping track at home. They're also missing Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, which means the only wide receiver of note that you have to shut down in that team is Hollywood Brown. I think Quinyon Mitchell can shut down Hollywood Brown. I think Cooper DeJean is going to make easy work out of Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think that our safeties will be able to bracket Travis Kelce. I love Philadelphia in this football game. You heard all week about A.J. Brown not getting touches. Well, what's Spags going to do? Spags is going to load the box to make sure you cannot throw the ball or cannot run the ball with Saquon Barkley. And Jalen Hurts is going to throw the ball to A.J. Brown. 7 catches, 138, and maybe 2 touchdowns incoming for A.J. Brown. I love Philadelphia in this spot.
So, yeah, we're going back and forth. I'm completely with you on this. Look, the only way I think that the Chiefs are going to be able to move the football is with Patrick Mahomes impromptu with his legs. If the Eagles defensive line is not disciplined in their rush lanes and he can clear the first wave, he's going to be able to make plays that way. But other than that, they don't have anybody on the outside that can win one-on-ones. The current version of Travis Kelce can't win one-on-ones. And they do have a terrible offensive line. And I know our good friend Tony will tell you that Isaiah Pacheco is an underrated running back. I think he's just a running back. I don't think there's anything special about him. Not that he's not a good football player, but I think he's more of a change of pace back than a feature back. I just don't think they have enough offensive firepower to match up with that Eagles defense. And I think on the other side of the ball, I'm with you. I think that the Eagles come out firing because they know Spags is not going to let Saquon Barkley do his thing. I think it's going to be a big game for not just A.J. Brown, but I think Devontae Smith is going to do his thing.
Couldn't agree with you more, brother. I love the Eagles in this football game. That's not homerism. I told you last week I think the Eagles were going to play a bad game versus the Cowboys. I said 23-19. It was 24-20. I feel really good in this spot as a Philadelphia Eagle fan. Sunday night football. You got the ATL. Atlanta Falcons traveling to Minnesota to take on the J.J. McCarthys, the Kevin O'Connells, the Justin Jeffersons of the world. In Minnesota, in U.S. Bank Stadium, who do you like in this game? Falcons at Vikings.
It's funny because I would say that the Falcons don't lack for talent, but Michael Penix doesn't have Kevin O'Connell coaching him up. He doesn't. I'm going to lean with the Vikings. I think that he does enough in coaching up J.J. McCarthy, finding ways to utilize his strengths versus his weaknesses. I don't think they're going to be explosive offensively, but I think they'll do enough to eke out the win because I always trust in Brian Flores' defense. And I think Brian Flores' defense is going to create havoc for Michael Penix.
I love that, what you just said. A lot of people talk about that game, Vikings, screw those cheating Vikings. He's a Bears fan, so.
Got it.
I love that what you just brought up. and I want to take a second to talk about Monday night for a second. A lot of people, the headline on Tuesday was JJ McCarthy's huge fourth quarter comeback. He showed them what he has, and JJ McCarthy and my headline is Brian Flores, after the first drive, shut down the Chicago Bears rest of the football game. JJ McCarthy was terrible in that football game for 3 quarters. Awful. And that Vikings defense kept them in the football game. I trust Flores to make Penix feel uncomfortable. I'll take the Minnesota Vikings to win this football game at home, and I think it's going to be a very low-scoring football game. You have a Raheem Morris versus Raheem Morris versus Brian Flores in a defensive battle of wits. And Raheem Morris is a great defensive coordinator. The Atlanta defense is severely underrated. There's a serious no-fly zone there. And Minnesota does not run the football well. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. Give me the Vikings, and I trust Brian Flores a little bit more than I trust Michael Penix.
I'm with you 100%. I think Flores' defense is going to get a couple of turnovers off of Michael Penix.
2 Monday Night Football games this week. We're to the double Monday Night Football. And I'll give them credit. I think they did a good job with this one. They had these overlapping Monday Night Football games last year, and that pissed me off. I hate that. I want to be able to watch Monday Night Football. I want to be able to watch both games. That's great. From 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the morning, I can watch football. Hell yeah. Let me get into that. The early game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 1-0, go to Houston to take on the Houston Texans, 0-1. The Texans are a 2.5-point favorite.
It's interesting how these games align. So I'm a big D'Amico Ryans fan. I am. I like CJ Stroud. I'm not anti CJ Stroud. I trust in the Texans defense. I don't trust their offense just yet. I know they have talent. I know what Stroud can do. I know they have playmakers. And I thought the offensive line held its own. But Tampa Bay is a pretty balanced football team. The only question I would say is this, because I've always been on the Baker train, not a secret. Are you going to get Baker that takes care of the football? Or are you going to get Baker the gunslinger? Because if he takes care of the football, he's going to take what the defense dictates to him and play it safe. And I think Tampa Bay will be fine. I'm going to take the Texans to hold off and find a way to win the football game. Even though I'm on the Baker train, I don't see the Texans going 0-2.
We'll be opposite on this one. You're a big D'Amico Ryans guy, and I love me some Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is one of the best defensive minds in football, sure. And I think when you have an offensive line that's not used to playing together, it's a completely new offensive line, and you're going up against a Todd Bowles style defense, he confuses Philadelphia's offensive line. You don't think he's going to confuse the Houston Texans offensive line? I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensively put on a show here. I think CJ Stroud is going to get put on his ass way more than he should. I'll take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this football game. Give me Mike Evans, give me Emeka Egbuka, and give me a little bit of Bucky Irving with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then last but not least, the last game of the week, the Los Angeles Superchargers traveled to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders' huge win on the road at Gillette. Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, the tight ends galore, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers. They're going to play against Justin Herbert, who probably had the most efficient game of his career down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Quentin Johnson looked like he played football again. Keenan Allen turned back the clock. And Ladd McConkey. Who do you like in this football game? Chargers at the Raiders.
Division opponent, tough game. I'm a big fan of Jim Harbaugh. I'm rolling with the Chargers. I think they win a physical football game. I don't think it's a high-scoring game, but I'm going with the Chargers.
I love this, Damian. This game could go in overtime.
It could.
I feel like a 10 p.m. start. I feel like a 10 p.m. start and a football game is lasting about 3 hours. this game, it would probably go in overtime. This way, 2:00 in the morning, you're still watching football. I'll go with the Chargers to win on a walk-off field goal. I think this is a really close football game.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Pete Carroll founded them. He did. And he's like, come on back home, Geno. And the Vegas Raiders look good week 1. I think they're going to play good football this year. And especially the way they play personnel. They're playing 2 tight end sets all across the board. Ashton Genty has to run the ball better this week than he did last week. But I'll go with the Chargers in a close one over the Raiders.
No pushovers in that division this year.
No. Just 9 minutes left. I have a couple more, just quick qualms to go through. Paul Skeens tops 200 strikeouts as the Pirates manage his workload. He's the favorite to win the NL Cy Young. His team is brutally bad, but Paul Skeens has been one of those things that you look at the Pirates, they're 64-82. Their team stinks. Paul Skeens, however, is going to win the NL Cy Young. I mean, it's all but written in stone. He's 10-9, which is crazy to win the NL Cy Young at 10-9. But he has over 200 strikeouts and a whip ERA at 1.92 and a whip below 1 at 0.92. How much of Paul Skeens have you gotten a chance to see, Mo?
Even though I'm only a casual baseball fan, I've actually seen a lot of his games. I will say this about Paul Skeens. God help the rest of the league if he ever got some run support.
You're not kidding.
You know what I mean? Like his record will be something insane, like 19 or 20. Like he's that good, that dominant, that he's got a laser for an arm. And it's surgical the way he controls the baseball. So I'm a huge fan. I'm not gonna lie and tell you that I knew his record was only 10-9. Because I guess ESPN is really good at just showing the highlights because he's really good. But yeah, I just think he's one of the big and bright young stars in baseball. Love the
guy. The next news, I found this news really funny, and I wanted to get your take on it. Just off the top of your head, I know you're not a big soccer guy, right? You're not a big soccer guy, right?
Not even a little bit.
You remember Trey Lyles, NBA veteran Trey Lyles?
I do.
He made the jump overseas, joining Real Madrid. Now, Real Madrid is basketball, obviously. He's not going to play soccer. But Real Madrid, most notably known for their soccer team, Trey Lyles made the jump overseas, going to play for Real Madrid as opposed to playing for the Sacramento Kings. Any thoughts on Trey Lyles moving overseas?
I'm only wondering why the only way I can figure it is, and I'm sure you would agree, is they're paying him more. Sure. It's got to be about the money, because you're not telling me that it's better competition, because it's not. But yeah, look, a lot of guys. It's funny because a lot of guys go overseas when they're like in their 30s and they're past their primes. I'm pretty sure Trey Lyles is a fairly young man for him to make that leap.
I'm really looking forward to the WNBA playoffs. The Dream have won 6 straight. The Aces have won 15 straight. The Minnesota Lynx have been the best team in the WNBA all year. I am really looking forward to seeing the New York Liberty try to defend their crown. They're going to start on the road at Phoenix in the first round of the playoffs. Phoenix, New York is going to be a series that I just cannot wait to watch. And if you want to talk about a group that can really slow down the stars of Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, I'm going to tell you exactly who it's going to be. It's going to be Alyssa Thomas. It's going to be Satu Sabali. It's going to be Dewana Bonner. And on the guard play, there's no one that gives Sabrina Ionescu more trouble than Philadelphia's own Kalia Copper. I actually am predicting the upset in the first round. I know we talked about this yesterday, and you said you're really looking forward to the Liberty in the second round playing the Lynx. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm predicting the first round upset. I think the Phoenix Mercury with Alyssa Thomas, with Kalia Copper, Dewana Bonner, Statu Sabali is just too much for a Liberty team that has been struggling this year, especially recently. You remember that team started 11-0.
Right.
So if they started 11-0 and they're finishing the season 26-17, that tells you they were 15-17 over their last 32. So I understand they've had injuries. I think that Phoenix Mercury makes short work of the Liberty.
It's going to be a tough matchup for sure, and I would love to see the Liberty match up with Fee and company, but it might not happen. You might be right. Phoenix, what they have is they have the perimeter defenders and the post defenders to give Stewie and Ionescu all the problems in the world. So I don't disagree with that. I'm just so looking forward to the WNBA postseason because even a team like the Valkyries, who I don't think are going to make a big splash, but the fact that they're there, what are they doing there in year one? That's exciting to me. And that's got to be a big deal for the league as well. So I want to see them play. I'm excited to watch them play.
You want to talk about a team that is all grit. Their leading scorer on their roster averages 14 points a game, and that's Kayla Thornton. Veronica Burton is averaging 12 points a game. That team is filled with people that fill the stats, that play defense, that jump lanes. They are a gritty. It's crazy. If you was given an NBA comparison to this team, and I don't want to give them this high of a praise, but they remind me of the 04 Pistons, the way that they played.
Oh, wow.
Everybody was involved. It's an entire team defense, a mentality. There's no superstar, just everyone's good. Now, that's obviously to a lesser degree. The Valkyries aren't going to win the WNBA finals. But the point being is that Valkyrie team plays great team basketball.
And I love that, but could you ask for a better inaugural season?
No.
That's what's so impressive. Like most of us had them be, they would have been good if they won half the amount of games they won. And they've far exceeded any expectations. And like you said, gritty, tough-minded team. But I love it. I love it for the league.
The WNBA, they have, first of all, they're going to have their lottery, and the first overall pick is going to be between the Dallas Wings, the Chicago Sky, and the Connecticut Sun. Dallas tanked again. And I hate to say it this way, but you have Paige Beckers, Arike Ogunbowale, and you're the worst team in the WNBA. I feel like the Dallas is trying to load up their rosters and tank. Very reminiscent of what the 76ers did in tanking for players year after year until they loaded their roster up. What is your thought process on Chicago and Connecticut are obviously not stronger rosters than Dallas, but Dallas has the worst record in the W.
Yeah, I think they took a page from what the Sixers did, and they got their own version of the process. But when you look at what Chicago has in terms of their bigs, what they desperately need is perimeter talent to balance out their roster. And I would love it if Chicago were able to get like somebody like that. But no doubt what Dallas is doing is they're tanking to load up their right. Because you're right. With the talent they already have, and you're going to go out and get a number one pick, they have a chance to, I guess you could call it an organic super team, if you will, depending on who they draft. But yeah, they have a lot of talent already. It's weird that their record is what it is, unless it's intentional, obviously, clearly.
In the WNBA draft, you have two perfect fits for both Chicago and Dallas. If I'm Chicago and Dallas, we just need to figure out a way to keep Connecticut out of that top two because Connecticut can really screw that up. Lauren Betts out of UCLA is the perfect fit to play around Paige Beckers and Ogunbowale. That would be a perfect big to center around what Paige and Ogunbowale do. There's zero, that's a perfect fit for them. Let's take it a step further. What does Chicago need? You just said it. They need Ozzie Fudd. And Ozzie Fudd out of UConn is the guard that they need to run the show. And then Olivia Miles out of TCU would be a great backup for Ozzie Fudd. So Olivia Miles, Ozzie Fudd, and Lauren Betts should be your top 3 picks next year. And then you go down the line, and Latson from South Carolina averaged 25 points a game last year. And then Flau'jae is coming out next year. So next year's draft in the WNBA is going to be loaded. It'll be interesting to see how some of these players fit their current teams and their current roles. I really think that the Valkyries needed a lottery pick, but it's a great inaugural season for them.
Yeah.
That's all we got. 10 o'clock. Kind of flew.
Yeah, it did. Enjoyed it.
Love talking sports with you, brother. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Make sure you tune in tonight for N1. They're going to talk about the 10 best players in their prime that are currently playing now. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's what I'm excited for. Mo, do me a favor. Close this out, friend.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Take care, y'all.